After finding out that her husband has a mistress, Amelia makes a very scary decision. In the quiet town of N, where the shadows of the ancient fortress stretch long into the evening, Amelia lived a life that was the envy of her neighbors. Her husband, a man of charm and secrets, had woven a tapestry of lies that was about to unravel. The revelation of his infidelity was a jagged pill to swallow, but Amelia's response was not one of tears or rage. Instead, she plotted a revenge so chilling, it would make the stones of the old castle weep. She began to transform their elegant home into a labyrinth of horrors, each room a chapter of the story she had been forced into. The walls, once adorned with family portraits, now whispered with the voices of the betrayed. Mirrors reflected not the present, but the sins of the past. And in the cellar, where their finest wines had rested, a new collection took its place, one that was alive, in a manner of speaking. Her husband, oblivious to the change, continued his charade until the night he brought his mistress home. The house, now an entity of its own, seemed to hold its breath as they entered. The doors locked behind them, not by Amelia's hand, but by the will of the walls themselves. The couple was separated, each drawn into a different part of the darkened corridors by an unseen force. The mistress found herself in a gallery of grotesque sculptures, faces twisted in agony, too lifelike to be mere art. She could hear whispers, pleading for release, for an end to their eternal torment. Meanwhile, Amelia's husband was trapped in what used to be their bedroom, now a chamber of reflections, each mirror showing him a fragment of his soul, each more monstrous than the last. Hours turned into days, or perhaps it was years. Time had lost its meaning in the house that Amelia had cursed. Her husband and his mistress were subjected to the deepest fears of their own making, a psychological torment that was relentless and personal. Amelia watched, her heart as cold as the stone beneath her feet, as they unraveled, their minds becoming as fractured as the reality they were trapped in. In the end, when the dawn finally broke through the darkness, the house was silent. The townspeople whispered of the cursed manor, where the unfaithful would find their reckoning. Amelia was never seen again, her vengeance complete, her presence absorbed into the very essence of the house. And so, the story of the wise decision became a legend, a tale to chill the bones of those who dared to betray. But some say, on certain nights, when the wind howls through the fortress ruins, you can hear the echoes of a woman's laughter, woven into the fabric of N's history forever. The mistress, once a figure of grace and beauty, found herself ensnared in a web of her own vanity. The gallery of grotesque sculptures, her prison, became a twisted reflection of her life. With each step, she felt the eyes of the statues upon her, their gazes piercing through her soul. She tried to scream, but her voice was swallowed by the suffocating silence of the room. The whispers grew louder, an endless cacophony of accusations and regrets that filled the air like a thick fog. She wandered the gallery, her mind fraying at the edges as she touched the cold, unyielding faces of the sculptures. They seemed to move in the corner of her eye, contorting in silent agony, a punishment for the part she played in the betrayal of a heart. The air grew colder, the shadows darker, and the line between reality and nightmare blurred. Days passed, or perhaps it was only hours, but time had no meaning in this place of eternal dusk. The the mistress's once vibrant eyes grew dull, her thoughts fragmented like the reflections in the cursed bedroom. She began to see herself in the sculptures, her own face twisted in horror, a permanent record of her sin. The house fed on her fear, growing stronger with every tear she shed. It whispered promises of release, of sweet oblivion, but they were empty words from a hollow soul. The mistress realized too late that she was not just a prisoner, but an integral part of the house's twisted narrative, a character in a story that would never end. Her fate was sealed, her spirit woven into the fabric of the house, another lost soul trapped in the labyrinth of Amelia's making. She became a ghostly presence, her essence bound to the gallery, her whispers joining the chorus of the betrayed. Her physical form faded, leaving behind a final sculpture in her likeness, a monument to her role in the tragedy that had unfolded. And so the mistress's fate was a cautionary tale, a warning whispered on the wind that carried through the streets of City N. It was a fate that spoke of the consequences of desire and deceit, a reminder that the choices we make can lead us down dark paths from which there is no return. The house stewed as a sentinel, a keeper of secrets, and a purveyor of justice, its appetite for retribution insatiable. The mistress, now part of its legacy, would forever be a part of its horror, a piece of its soul as timeless and enduring as the ancient stones of the fortress that watched over the town. What happened to Amelia after her revenge? After her chilling revenge, Amelia became a specter of her former self, a phantom in the town of N. She vanished from the physical world, but her presence lingered in the air, a whisper among the winds that swept through the ancient streets. The house that had been the stage for her vengeance stood silent, a monument to her pain and retribution. It was said that Amelia had not simply disappeared, but had become one with the very essence of the abode, her spirit infused into the bricks and mortar that had witnessed her transformation from a scorned wife to an avenger. The townspeople spoke of seeing a figure shrouded in the mists of early dawn, walking the perimeter of the cursed house. They said it was Amelia, keeping watch over the domain of her revenge, ensuring that the story of her betrayal and the fate of those who wronged her would never be forgotten. Some claimed to feel her gaze upon them, a weight of sorrow and wisdom that was both haunting and profound. As years passed, the legend of Amelia and her house of horrors grew. The once vibrant home became shrouded in vines and shadows, its windows like blind eyes turned inward, reflecting nothing of the outside world. No one dared to enter for fear of becoming part of the tale themselves. The house and Amelia within it became a cautionary tale of love, betrayal, and the lengths to which a wounded heart will go for justice. But Amelia's story did not end within the walls of her spectral prison. It was whispered that she roamed the corridors of the fortress that towered over the town, her silhouette occasionally visible in the moonlight, a guardian of history and a keeper of secrets. Her laughter, once filled with joy, now echoed with the hollow touch of vengeance, a sound that sent shivers down the spines of those who heard it. In the end, Amelia's fate was as enigmatic as the woman herself. Some say she found peace, her quest for vengeance fulfilled, her spirit free to move beyond the confines of her earthly ties. Others believe she remains, a watchful protector of the town, a reminder of the dark passions that reside in the human heart. But all agree that Amelia, in her wisdom and wrath, had become more than a mere memory. She had become a part of the lore of City N, her story etched into the stones of the fortress, whispered by the trees, and carried by the river that flowed ceaselessly, just as her legacy would flow through the annals of time. Amelia, the woman who made a very wise decision, had ensured that her tale would be told for generations, a haunting melody in the symphony of the town's history.